Men of Reddit, what is something that other men do that makes you say, yeah, they're gonna be single forever? Before we start with the first story, please hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Number 20. Make overt sexual remarks at inappropriate times to people they do not know well enough off for that sort of banter. As a woman, yep. I hung out with my male neighbor a few months ago after he approached me and asked me to hang out because he thought I seemed cool. The first night I met him, he immediately started joking to me that he likes to hear his neighbors fuck and also thinks all women have a fantasy. Ah, so funny, bro. I hadn't ever really spoken to him outside of polite hellos, and how are you before this? He was divorced. After spending about 2 hours with him, I was like, no freaking wonder his wife left him, and he's been single ever since. Number 19. I am continually surprised at who can get a girlfriend/boyfriend. Really, some of the most man-children I've ever seen have gotten married. Some of the biggest assholes I know have kids. There is one guy I know that I think will struggle though. He's in his 20s and the only way he can entertain himself is by making loud fart noises with his mouth. I'll be sitting there chatting with another friend, and out of the blue, he'll just make this sloppy shart sound with his face and laugh his ass off. And you know, I'm a simple guy. I laugh at good poop jokes. When someone has good timing with a fart, I laugh. But this guy literally cannot make a joke, he cannot tell a story, and he cannot enjoy a moment of silence without making fart noises. Just constantly. I'm debating removing him from our Discord server that our IRL friends hang out in because he has nothing to say. It's just fart sounds. Non-stop. Fart sounds. Number 18. Always trying to be the toughest man in any situation. I have one guy I know in mind and he claims to have no fears, could take anyone on, and is just an absolute Reminds me of Cyrus from Trailer Park Boys, but worse and less funny. Number 17. Unrealistic expectations of a partner. I worked with a guy that basically everyone in the office would consider an insult simply based on his list of requirements. His bare minimum was, first, she has to be an 8/10 or higher. He was a 3 or 4 if we are calling 5 average. Second, have her own job making somewhat similar income as him. He made 75 entry level. Third, the job can't just be a regular job, it has to be an ambitious career. In his eyes, that's only STEM or a lawyer. Fourth, she has to do all the interior housework like cooking and cleaning. He will cut grass and hire people for repairs. Fifth, no tattoos of any kind, no piercings besides earlobes. Sixth, has to be okay with at least 3 kids, and she will do all childcare. Along with many other ideals and preferences, but those 6 are the bare minimum for him to consider dating. He basically wanted a perfect slave. There was a woman we worked with that actually fit 4 or 5 of these minimums. She was as conservative traditional Christian as it gets. She'd actually tried to talk some sense into this guy on several after-work events about how ridiculous it is to want someone with a full-time career and be a full-time housewife among other things. To no avail. He'd obviously had a crush on her, but he claimed he never made a move because she was too old, same age. He said you want to get a wife that's 18 or 19 so she's still young and can take care of you when you retire. Keep in mind this 18 or 19-year-old needs a career making around the same as him. Number 16. Always looking for the perfect mate. Yeah, I've seen a lot of schlubby, plain mid-level guys who are shockingly picky about women, turning up their noses at anyone less than supermodel gorgeous. Too fat, too tall, not a blonde. I want a blonde. Then they whine about getting rejected. I want to say, dude, who are you to be so judgmental? Number 15. I've known quite a few men who believe they have to treat women poorly to get their attention and respect. I've tried helping them open their eyes to all of the healthy, happy, and moral relationships around them, but these guys are usually pretty disconnected from reality. I've also known men who seem to think women owe them something. If they don't need to try to be a good person or a good partner, they just need to check off the I'm a man boxes and act cool, then women should be falling head over heels for them. Edit. When I was writing this, I had someone in mind who is not getting any dates, and he thinks it's because women in society are different than they used to be. But as some of you have pointed out, acting like an ish has worked for some guys with some women. Number 14. So many of these responses are hilarious because we all know a guy that makes comments and generally acts like a misogynist and still always has it anyway. They're not good dudes, but that isn't the point. So I'll give a real answer. The guy who will be single forever will say something along the lines of I want to date, but I never feel like I'm ready. I have to have X and X and X and X first. Then women will like me. Additionally, this guy has to be at least 30 years old. Number 13. I have a friend who has incredibly high standards when it comes to dating. He wouldn't go out with an overweight or not a conventionally pretty girl. Meanwhile, he is overweight, balding, boring-looking guy in his 40s with a job and a harried back, who did not have sex in the last 20 years, unless he paid for it, what he did frequently. His father left his mother when my friend was a baby, never had a male role model in his life. Number 12. Bad hygiene. Making everything into a reference. Not being able to have a normal conversation with a woman. Only talking to women when drunk, and even then it's to say something awful. Being friends with someone that they secretly want to have sex with. Bonus. Asking said friend, "Where's my hug?" every time they leave. Number 11. Have absurd dating standards. I used to work with a guy who lived in an ex-girlfriend's basement at 45, was about 6 inches, 359 lobes, and looked like he was carved out of Crisco. He frequently smelled bad and clearly only showered a couple of times a week. One day he said to me, "It's okay if a girl's face is just cute, but if she's going to be with me, her body needs to be a solid 10, and she needs to take care of herself." For a while, he had a girlfriend who was smart, funny, nice, put up with his nonsense, and IMO was very pretty. They broke up because he told her she wasn't hot enough to marry. This guy was a wreck, but he was my friend. I always told him that he needed to be more realistic or he'd die alone. Colon cancer took him just before Christmas, 2 years ago. There was no funeral, but the ex who let him live in her basement made a nice post about him on Facebook. Guys out there who just can't find the right girl, here's my advice. Sit down by yourself and make a list of the attributes that your future mate must have. Also, make a list of the attributes that they must not have. Think about that person and think about yourself. If you were that person, would you be happy with someone like you? If not, you better start working on that. Also be real. Sure, we'd all like a supermodel brain surgeon billionaire, but what's really important? What makes you happy? Focus on that. Don't be lonely. Be happy. Number 10. This might be hard to hear, but honestly, it's being underconfident. You can be an absolute piece of and still get a partner because most pieces of still have or at least project a lot of self-confidence. That is what people find attractive. If you're an otherwise nice dude but you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to attract anyone. Number 9. Any man who starts a sentence with, "These modern women today." The dude will never know the touch of a woman and will be baffled as to why. Number 8. Wish I could nail it down, but for every comment here, I know a man who is married in spite of the traits. I also know many kind, wonderful, intelligent, and funny men who behave well, would make good partners, have their shit together, and are perpetually single. So any reason that should keep men single doesn't seem to matter, and the men who have every reason to not be single still are. People are complicated, life is messy. I'd say the thing that most keep men out of long-term happy relationships tends to be a lack of self-awareness, and however that manifests, and yet those men will still be married for decades, so I don't know. Number 7. I had a friend in college who was constantly batting out of his league with girls, and I don't mean looks-wise, I mean the entire package. He wanted the perfect 10s, both brains and looks, while he was a solid 4 to 5 in both of those areas. On top of that, he was almost always interested in girls who had already found good guys. He was just completely unrealistic about it. I said it back then, and I'll say it now 20 years later. He's going to be single forever. Number 6. My mate, he's 32, lives in a bungalow at the back of his mom's house. He goes and buys 2-minute noodles or frozen pizza for every meal because his mom didn't do his shop for him. Complains when he doesn't have a girlfriend. Complains when he does. Number 5. Blaming all women for something one woman did. This is a good standard for any gender. That's a massive red flag. Number 4. I have a coworker who has wonderful qualities that tell me that not only will he remain single, but a virgin as well. First, extremely poor hygiene, to the point it lingers in whatever location he works in. Second, pathological liar about everything. Third, extremely sexist, always on women he works with, unless he thinks they like him. Then he gets really creepy. Fourth, uses every ounce of power behind his position at work, which isn't much, in order to make coworkers fear, his words, him. Fifth, Blames his subordinates to his boss when he fucks up. Perfect example. Annual evaluations were due last month. He was lazy and didn't do them. His excuse: my troops were just such underperformers this year I couldn't even think of anything to put down. He's in the military. Sixth, his house is a biohazard. Not kidding, the military had to call in special cleaners for his room when he left his last base, and I saw his apartment at this new location. It's horrific. This guy is just functional enough to not get fired, but everyone collectively hates him. Number 3. Not take responsibility and lack any self-reflection. No one wants an incompetent man-child who thinks they are perfect and unwilling to grow/change. Number 2. Smell like ass. Too many people in my circle, single men who just smell like ass. Number 1. A dude I know who is kind of an incel. Upon seeing any woman, feels the need to rate them out loud. I'm amazed he hasn't gotten pepper sprayed, lol. And that's all the 20 best stories. If you like more of this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your similar experience in the comment below. See you in the next video.